So thank you everybody for attending. Today we're going to cover the program as it's now sent to you multiple times. So I'm going to do a refresh for occupational health and safety and compliance systems. Then Shane Herbst will discuss house and land PowerPoint editable layouts and the new house and land discounted pricing structure. And then finally, Tim will wrap things up for us with new Gyro, SMS and INH website features. Glenn may have some other comments to make at the end, so we'll move forward with the discussion regarding occupational health and safety. So the first thing is I just share my screen to make you all aware of where to access this information before I start. So hello, are you still there?
Yes, we're still here. We just can't see the screen to share.
Sorry, it's just dropped out. That share screen function's not come up again, Tim. It's blanked out. So I'm just trying to find out how I can get back into that. Oh, here we go. I've got it now. Apologies for that. So I'm just loading up the share screen now.
There it is. We've got it.
Lovely. Thank you. So the purpose of the discussion today relates to documents that can be accessed in the global documents section under the folder, as you can see there, called construction. So anytime, as we know, where there's a plus there, it means that there's additional information we can access. So we'll click on the drop-down menu and you'll come down to see OHS. And when we click on that, the drop-down menu appears regarding that information. So you can see here that there's a OHS volume 7, which is quite a substantial document, which we've made simple for you by creating a cut down version of it, which is called the project manager version. And that's essentially the procedures and forms that you need to use on site as a bare minimum. And we'll run through some of those using the document that will appear on your screen shortly, which is this here. But first, just want to give you some background. So one of the things we've noticed in recent times is that some of the franchisees have been challenged by some OH&S issues, and it's likely that that's going to become something that's more frequent as we see more move towards enforcement via government entities, apart from the fact that there's an obvious benefit in terms of reducing injuries on site, is it's also a money spinner that they can generate income from penalising and fining people for failures to breach, failures to comply rather with occupational health and safety standards, but it's all being done under a cause of providing safety. So it's a fairly powerful cocktail from a legislators and government's point of view to bring about a justification for what they're doing. So the things that we need to be conscious of as builders is probably three key things. All of us want to keep people safe. We've got safe contractors on site and suppliers. They're happy. It's not going to cause us problems. If the clients are safe, same thing. So firstly, we want to keep people safe. Secondly, we want to meet our legislative responsibilities, but without having to cause ourselves a huge volume of work. So one of the things about OH&S is it's a bit like the old rabbit hole, that the more you start to do, the more that you could do, because it's very paper generated. And there's a good reason for that, which we'll talk about shortly. And the third element is we want to ensure that the public liability and work cover insurance that you all have will in fact be there to support you in the situation that may occur when an injury occurs on a work site. And like a lot of things in business, those small elements, 1%ers as they call them, can have significant ramifications in the event that the injury is substantial and then a case is brought against you. So you want to be able to be in a situation where you've got sufficient paperwork to prove that you've had an OH&S system in place and that it's actually being used on a regular basis. So what this cuts to is the notion of burden of proof. So ordinarily in the legal system we have in Australia is that you're innocent until proven guilty. Unfortunately, with the way OHS works is that you're guilty until you can provide enough evidence to prove that you had a system that meant that you weren't actually at fault. So it's a little bit of a situation where things are turned on its head. So what we want to look at is giving you some direction about what amount of paperwork you need to have to cover yourselves, and always keeping in mind that anyone reasonable wants to have a safe workplace. So there's one principal concept that you need to keep in the back of your head at all times, and that's the notion of what is reasonably practicable. So keeping that notion reasonably practicable is really critical, because that is essentially how you can justify the actions you've taken as a builder with remote building sites where you physically, either yourself or a project manager, can't be on the site every day. Then reasonable practicability says that you need to have a system which addresses that. And that's what we're really going to look at in terms of reviewing how the OHS system works. Now, all of you have had training from us before in this, but it's an ongoing requirement. It's like being part of the maintenance gang for the main roads. There's constantly potholes coming up, weeds growing over the road. We all need to be diligent in maintaining the OHS system so that you've got that situation if a burden of proof lands on you, that you've actually got the documentation you need. So the document that's on screen now, called the Project Managers section, you'll see is broken into two parts. So essentially everything to do with OHS is based on having policies, which is an overall description of what you want to achieve, procedures, which is a list of descriptions about how you're going to bring about a safe workplace and a safe work site. Because it's fundamental to the notion that when you build a home, it's dangerous. There's always an element of risk there. So what we're trying to do is reduce the amount of risk, and that is what our paperwork and our forms show. So you can see there when I talk about two sections, so we've got a plan and some rules, and then we have a series of forms which provide evidence that we've actually instigated the plan that we put forward, and that we're taking reasonable actions, reasonably practicable actions to ensure the safety of everyone on the sites. So one of the most important things that you will have, and in our experience when audits occur, either from independent auditors who are checking in the situation when we had Australian standards, or their independent auditors from WorkCover, etc., is they want to see that you've got a site safety plan. So the principle that we've given you is you fill out all the bits and pieces that you need to on the first two pages, as you can see on the screen as I scroll through, and then you have behind that the actual standard descriptions of the controls, the actions you're taking on place to reduce the risk. And as you move from left to right, you'll see there's a description of what the hazard is. So there's inherently a series of hazards on site. The risk is then measured, and you can see there that we've got a 4C7. At the end of these controls or these actions, then the residual risk could be reduced. So a 4C7 before we do the inductant process, and then the residuals are 3.6. So that's what we're always trying to do, reduce the amount of risk by the actions we take on site. So the idea with this safety plan is that you fill out one for every single building site. It's left on site at all times, and it's accessible to people. And when you're inducting them, you need to make them aware of the plan, where they can access it, and be available to answer any questions they have. So to make it easy for you, we have created a series of standard descriptions that go in there, which you're able to and ideally add to. As you can see as I scroll through the 4 or 5 pages there, you'll come to some blank sections. Now they're designed so that you can add in specific information that will relate to a particular site. For example, if you're building by water is probably the most obvious one, you would need some additional descriptions of the controls you're going to have, i.e. provide fencing around the section where there's access to water, for example. And therefore it's showing anyone who comes and does an audit or inspects you that you've already considered that there's a risk there and you've put a control in place. So that's important that that document stays on site, and also ideally it's supposed to be added to over time. But if you had that on site and completed so that at the bottom here, for example, the site address is on there, the project manager's name's handwritten in there. That's really important, that that material maintained and is completed. You can see how each one of these documents has reference to output forms, and these output forms actually form part of this project manager section just to make it easy for you. We're conscious of the fact that this is an extra level of burden from a workflow management situation, and we're not trying to create unnecessary paperwork. So you make a value decision about which of those things that you can complete, keeping in mind, always thinking of the worst scenario. If somebody got hurt, it would be handy if I had paperwork there to confirm that there was a site safety plan, that we'd done an induction, and that relevant forms had been signed along the way. So this is the matrix. So when I was talking about 4C7 before, so the idea is that you just line the numbers up, 4C7, and that's how you end up in this quadrant. Quite a simple explanation, which we don't need to go into in any great detail, but you can see how it arrives at having a higher level of risk. So 5E being the highest and then 1A being the lowest, that we're always trying to have the initial risk reduced because of the control measures. Site safety rules are something that appear on the standard OHS signs that we have available through the third-party online company that provides those signs. We've also provided those with individual orders that come out of data build, so that that information is provided to the contractors and is also visually available on site. Now keep in mind, if you have a situation where you are audited, then you may need to provide screen saves or evidence that this material was supplied with your orders. Moving through, we have a site induction checklist. In reality, it's often difficult to find the time to complete these. However, what we tend to find is, and the same thing when you have visitors, for example, the owners. So if you can get the owner to complete one of these early on in the process, it's really quite powerful. We had a situation once we were audited and we had an example, or a real one, sorry, that the client had completed, and the inspector was so impressed. He said he'd never actually seen an owner induction form completed. So having those available and completed is going to be very helpful for you. What is critical though, in addition to the site safety plan, we strongly recommend that you have an OHS induction training register form completed on site. So that would have the name, the license number, the date of the contractor, the date that they were inducted, and their name and signature. If you had this with a dozen names on it, it's really going a long way to providing proof of your OHS system being carried out on that particular building site, and you can see there how the site address, job number, and project name, manager name is inserted there. Likewise, if you had a record of the safe work method statement from each individual contractor. Now, it's quite likely that you have these on file, and I've spoken to some of you who have been active in obtaining these. It's important though that you have a best case scenario is you've got a record of these as documented for each individual site. Some of these extra documents here are ideal world situations. So your safe work method statement checklist just means you've gone through the safe work method statement and checked that it's actually accurate and reflects what they're doing. And I cite the example of being on site with a carpenter who presented a safe work method statement. It was actually for a bricklayer. He hadn't actually read it. So it sounds obvious, but you need to ensure that the safe work method statement is given to you is actually relevant to the task the subcontractor is completing. And that is something not surprisingly that auditors look at quite closely. So as we scan down to the bottom here, these documents are things that are in addition to what you would actually need. So these are records of audits that are done on the sites, and ideally sites should be audited so that you've got a record or a paper trail showing that you've gone on site to check if there are faults in the way that things are being enacted on site. For example, if there's a fall hazard there and no one's actually put up some safety fencing, or there's a large hole at the back of the site that hasn't got a protective barrier around it. So it's showing that even though you've got the plan, you're enacting the plan and you're documenting faults that you find along the way. This document is also available as a triplicate carbon copy that's available to be ordered online as well. So as we just scroll up, and I finished my time, it's important though when you find these faults that you make a record of what was done to rectify them, what was done, and it was signed out. So I'll now move to hand over to the next presenter, which is Shane. Thank you.
Richard, before you go,
Yeah.
Just think it might be helpful to share a couple of recent circumstances in our franchise group where I guess OHS was sort of came to the top of the pile in the priority list. Can you bring to mind the recent incidents and just share, I guess, the outlines without naming names?
Yeah. Yeah. So the most recent one was an example of where somebody was hurt on site, and they went off and independently got medical treatment at a hospital. So it was potentially a documentable injury. So generally speaking, you work on the rule of thumb that if someone's admitted to hospital and spends the night there, then you're required to report that to work cover. I do note, though, that there's been some changes around this, and I, in fact, had an earlier situation where I rang work cover on behalf of one of the franchisees, and they actually roused on me saying, oh, we don't need to know about that. I suppose if something like this happens, it's always important to check what the latest information is. But in the example, the person went to hospital. They didn't notify the franchisee that had taken place. The situation then meant that work cover had the potential to be involved. When the franchisee became aware of it, of course, we found that we didn't have a site safety plan on site. We had no record of inductions. In fact, there was nothing there at all. So the cupboard was bare. So you then got a situation when you're trying to create sufficient paperwork to circumvent any possibility of it being an ugly experience for the franchisee.
Which it sounds like it wasn't in that case. We had to circle back and sort of mop up behind that incident.
That's right, exactly. And technically also, any time where there's an injury, and there's a form here at the end, which is a form here about recording the incident. This is really important. And generally with these things, we've always, whenever there's an incident, always if you can ring us as the franchisor and we can point you in the right direction. So traditionally I've written these up and then got the franchisee to organise with the contractor or supplier to then sign the document, so we've got a record of it. So if there's any future issues down the track, everybody's got a record of it, and importantly, the hurt party has been engaged. So we had one, it might be 2 years ago now, where I was actually ringing up the injured party and talking to them, and that it's so powerful. People show that you're interested in caring them, and we've had, fortunately, even though there's been some significant injuries in terms of people going to hospital, no one's been injured to a serious degree where they couldn't work anymore. And yeah.
So if that particular incident you described there had been slightly more severe, say that there had been a significant injury on the site, ambulance had attended the site, maybe work cover had also attended the site, at that point it wouldn't have been recoverable in that there would have been no documentation. So we were millimetres away from not having a good paper trail to support the builder in that environment, really.
Yes, that's dead right.
Yeah, and I guess I share that because, you know, it seems like a paper trail, it seems like a hassle, and yet we're all, you know, any second we're so close to this happening as builders that it's worth the energy. And thank you, Richard, for reinforcing that with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
You certainly sleep better as a builder if you've got your house in order in this space. Shane, you right to present?
Yep.
Thank you.
So just further to what Richard was saying, that workplace health and safety document is available on Global Docs as an editable Word file. The particulars relating to each company is highlighted so that you can go through and fill it out once yourself. You can even go to the effort of pre-filling in some particulars about jobs and some extra site-specific items, and it becomes unique to you then. So we've done that recently for one or two franchisees. We've helped them fill that out from scratch themselves with all their own company details and their own directors' signatures, and it's getting a lot of use. And moving on to the house and land package. So there's been a bit of call lately for, I guess, some improvement to the standard template. The other one we were using was put together in Word because it was the most readily available software that everyone had. It's a very low cost software package, It presented quite well and it got the job done. It was spread out over 2 pages, but there was a bit more call for some other options. So what you're seeing in front of you is a Microsoft Office software package. It's not Word, but it is a presenter software. It's designed around, it's called Publisher. It's what many designers use. It's more editable, it's more fluid in terms of laying out your information and generally presents more professionally. The downside to that is that, as I said earlier, it's not Microsoft Word. It's not as readily available at the same price, and so if you wish to use this new template file, you'll have to invest in that relevant software. So jump on Google, type in Microsoft Publisher. I'm sure you'll be able to find hundreds of different places you can purchase it, and you'll probably only purchase 1 or 2 copies and share it on the one machine. So as you can see here, the software is made up by little boxes, text boxes, picture boxes. Everything's just little boxes of pre-fillable information. I've uploaded this exact copy you're seeing in front of you to iGyro under Global Docs and under Sales, House and Land Package Template. It has a .pub file extension, which stands for Publisher. And in terms of completing this content, it's relatively straightforward. You just click in each of the text boxes and adjust it to suit. It is worth noting that when you do get to irregular size house plans or rural style homes which are quite long, there could be some teething issues or a bit of playing around to make it present well. You may even have to periodically, depending on the size and type of the home, have to delete some of the features text here to free up space, or alternatively resize a text box to make it suit. So in front of us here, we're looking at a Coogee 305. That's the Coogee 305 facade 1 render straight off our website here. The floor plan is also pinched straight off the website. So in terms of completing this information, it's actually quite straightforward. Firstly, you want to create the job in iProx, you want to price it, you want to use the domain upload tool to put that information together to come to your final sale price, and then you want to spend about 10 minutes creating this printable / emailable short description. We find these are really valuable to get in the hands of real estate agents and the like. They want something they can hand to a consumer when they happen to go past a display home. It also obviously looks quite pretty for those who want to walk away with something. So for example, we've got the main image here. So to swap out that main image, it's as simple as right-clicking. So if we were to choose another design, for example, if we'll come to the main website. Now, all the imagery I'm stealing from our main website, they're already in compressed file sizes, which are suitable for emailing. So there's no point reinventing the wheel. We just come to the main website, find the house that we're preparing along with the relevant render. So if we choose, say, the Evoker, and go for the Evoker F2, which I think is just ridiculously sexy, right-click, save picture as. Now you want to save that somewhere on your file, on your folder structure. Don't worry about renaming the file, just remember where you are saving it so that we can recall it. So right click and save. And we'll do the same with the floor plan. Right click, save picture as, and we'll save that to a location. Now we want to come back here to Publisher and click on the main image. And as you can see here, we've got some resize dots and squares appearing, which is indicating to us that we do have the main image selected. Right click, change picture, and change picture. We want to choose from file, and we want to choose the file that we just saved, which will be this random gibberish text. And as you can see, it's swapped that image out and it's taken the original image we had and placed it over the side here. Now we can just go ahead and delete that. We don't need it anymore. So there's your hero image saved. Now the floor plan's done exactly the same way. Right click, change picture. We'll choose the floor plan. As you can see, it's done exactly the same thing. It's placed the original image off to the side, so we'll delete that. And now we just want to adjust this to make sure it's not overlapping anything. You know, we can drag it a little bit closer to the bottom because there's a bit of white space there. We can drag this one down a little bit to just give us a bit more space around the expiry. And we've now got a floor plan. Now what we want to do is we want to go through and fill out the required information. So this would be the Evoca 235 F2. Now the overall square meterage we can get off the working drawings or from Gyro. We don't present them as a total, to my knowledge, on the main website unless I'm mistaken. So that number there would have to be adjusted once we have the working drawings in front of us. The lot size, well, that's obviously available from the developer for the lot you're trying to match this house and land package to. These are the dimensions for that lot, 4, 2, and 2. Once again, relatively straightforward. We just fill those out as required. I've found that there was a big demand from the developers to really start smashing around their estate names. You know, suburbs and state and postcodes were less relevant to these documents. They really just wanted the estate name, the lot, and the street, or if it's not specific to any individual lot, to reference, you know, lots 1 through such and such. So we'll just call this, you know, fake estate. And lot 10. Once you're going to change the price, just click in there. You can change each of these. Doesn't really matter. As I said, they're all just free form text. Expiry, expires today. And then you go through and fill out the features. A lot of these you can pinch straight from the website. A lot of them you can just use what's already there if you're subscribing and constantly using our designer specification. So the default is beacon commercial recessed LED lighting, PGH face bricks, etc., Clipsal switches. So you could reuse 50, 60, 70, even 100% of this potentially, depending on what the package is you've put together. It's effectively more like highlights. You really want to draw their attention to the things that may be unique about your package or the level of inclusions that you're providing over another. But it's also worthwhile including our lifetime structural warranty, built on time, we pay the rent schemes, things of that nature. They seem to add value. So an example with this one here would just be 4 bedrooms. This one, to my knowledge, does not have a study. Bed one includes a walk-in robe and ensuite. Now this is an open plan dining family. And separate lounge, and so on and so forth. Delete what's not appropriate, replace it with things that are. The default here has been saved with the /cost link there, because I felt it was appropriate to put something there to remind everyone that they need to adjust this component. So what I would suppose everyone do is you go to Gyro, go to Global Docs, download the file that's there currently, which has the cost information saved in there, and obviously the plan we were looking at earlier. Adjust the web link as well as the company trading name, ABN, and builder's license. As you're all aware, legislation details that your ABN license and company name will have to be stated on any sales material, and we've got that saved here just in the last line. Adjust those to suit, save the file somewhere, re-upload it to Global Docs, and then you've got one which has got your particulars in there going forward.
Just a quick comment on a couple of things, if I could, Shane.
You certainly may.
In Queensland, the QBCC actually dictates that you have to have it in a certain font size.
Oh, that's interesting. Do we know what font size that is?
I'll send that to you because I'm sure it'll be a little bit bigger than we have there.
All right, no one in Queensland's allowed to use this. Alternatively, I can adjust it.
Yeah, that's right. Or you can make it bigger on the bottom. But
correct.
And the obvious observation that people might have around mentioning specific brands of products there. That's
yep.
There's two different schools of thought there, but.
Correct. In this instance, it's there predominantly to capitalise on brand recognition and brand reach of other suppliers with whom we subscribe to within the specification or the addendum A. So these particular items relating to this package I put together for Coffs Coast were indeed REAM, hot water systems, Kingspan rainwater tanks.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not subscribing to the specification or if you're substituting products in some manner, it might be worthwhile adjusting that to suit or just putting in builder's range or just noting R3 ceiling bats and R2 wall bats rather than being so prescriptive.
We'd also just need to make conditions apply for fast track, please.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
And the final thing is, you're making a very good observation about how this is a really good resource to make available to salespeople and land agents and so on.
Yep.
It's also something you might want to give consideration to if you actually sell one, to include it with your sales paperwork and have the client's initial and date the material, because in the event that ends up being a problem further down the track with what they're actually buying, this becomes an important part of your paper trail and proof of what representations were made to the client.
Yeah, that's very, very fair observation. Keep a copy on file in case they come back and say that you told them that they were getting some other carpet supplier or some other insulation or a Fujitsu AC instead of an Actron, for example.
Yeah, and as we know, if it gets the contract and you're allowed to change things under there,
yep.
It's often about the floor plan. My experience is that people try and pull the wool over your eyes after they've changed to a smaller house later on down the track and then suddenly say, hold on, I was buying the Evoca 250, not the 235. Well, when you've got the paperwork that they signed up when you got preliminary services fee off them, it makes it a very short discussion.
Yep. Now, just want to quickly show what happens if you choose a non long and narrow design. I lucked out and chose the Evoca, which was very similar to the previous design. But if you were to find yourself with a Genesis package, for example, you would have to play around with the positioning and the amount of text you have available to you in that instance. So if I was to come down here and go change picture and swap it over to that other file I just saved, as you can see, we've got a bit of a problem. So what we want to do is we want to right click, change picture and go to reset picture. And as you can see, it's brought it back into scale. Now we just want to rotate that around. And then we want to resize it to suit. Now, in some instances, that will mean that you need to compromise on the amount of text you have available to you, or potentially drag a bit more text across to fill in the space, especially when you get to some of the shorter, fatter designs, such as the Kira. They take up a lot of real estate horizontally, and in that instance, you just grab this text box here and pull it across. And as you can see here, we've now got a bit of text overlapping, and the fast track discount has disappeared. So we would then say, delete that one out, and maybe delete that one out. And now it's all fit in. Now, the way it works is there's an overlapping or layering system available in the software, which allows you to have text run over images or have images overlay over text, depending on what your preference would be. So if I was to right click on this right now and just hit this button here that says spring forward, see how it's now decided that nothing is allowed to encroach on its box, and it's pushed the word living down. But if I undo it a couple of times, living's now allowed to encroach on that box. So if you find things start to overlap or don't present right, one of the simplest things to do with this software is to just play around by right clicking, coming here to this orange and white box and either pushing it forward or backwards a couple of times, and it will adjust accordingly. See, we pushed it too far forward now, and now it's trying to overlap the Evoca text, so we just push it back once and it sits back where we like it.
It's worth mentioning that the way that we've set all of these up is so that the floor plan, in this instance, when it was back in the normal situation, and Shane just used this as an example, that the garage on the floor plan marries up with the artist impression above, just so it makes it really easy for people to work out
what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we were to print out choose the Genesis facade here, save picture, just hit save, come back here and swap that image out. Change picture, and swap it for the Genesis. We can then click over here and delete the old one. So it's a relatively straightforward software package. We've adjusted all the text boxes and set it up in a way where you shouldn't have too many difficulties with things overlapping each other in the wrong order. And if you do, it is as straightforward as right-clicking, as I said earlier. This little box here appears and you just push things backwards and forwards until they look right.
Are we creating a two-story one?
Oh, get out of it. The two stories are much the same. Let's just go back here. I was trying to keep it nice and simple and avoid getting into crap.
Well, you're going to get asked for them, so I might as well get it out front now.
Yeah, so the two stories are a little bit more difficult, obviously due to the amount of screen real estate that they take up. On the website, we've dedicated a certain amount of space between the floor plans so that they're the most visually appealing when on the website. When it comes time to import them into this package, because we have so limited space, we actually have to get out some image editing software, which is built into Windows, and effectively delete that white space. Which I was really hoping not to do on the fly. So I will circle back onto that one. We're going to be releasing a video on this very shortly, which will go in the how-to file. I've written up the process in Word already on how to navigate things backwards and forwards using the orange and white buttons, how to access the floor plans, the renders, and some of the features information. And as I said, the template is currently saved to Global Docs, but Richard and I will touch base after this and have a look at the legislation in Queensland relating to the minimum font size and adjust so that it's hopefully universally accessible or acceptable. And then I will notify you when the video's gone out and when the updated file is available. And then we'll either schedule another session touching on the double stories, or alternatively you can watch the video that I'll record. So that's the House and Land package editable presentation file. The other thing I just wanted to quickly touch on without biting into too much of Tim's time is the email I sent out earlier in the week relating to the houseandland.com.au website. We've been successful there negotiating a discounted purchasing agreement from their usual $4.90 plus GST to $2.90 plus GST a month. They're doing some pretty exciting things. They're buying up other companies. They're spending a lot of time and money on advertising, and are growing exponentially. It was only 6 months ago they had 4 advertised lots in all of New South Wales, and now they've got 20 or 30 just in Coffs Harbour alone. So the way it works is slightly different to what this document's intent is. The way the other website works is that you list your house designs on their website pre-priced, or alternatively POA. The preference would be pre-priced because it's obviously going to get more inquiry. The developers have their own login to the website. They pay their own monthly membership. They list their land stock, and you list your house, and then the clients are able to choose a house or choose a land and match them up, and then inquire on both simultaneously. It doesn't mean that house will necessarily ever end up on that block, but it fields that inquiry to both use simultaneously. And as Richard and I touched on in this document, the reason why I've got those brands there is so that we can capitalize on the brand recognition and strength of other companies. LJ Hooker is someone who's come on board with them and has signed a national agreement. They've embedded the Match with House button onto their website. So if you're browsing the LJ Hooker website, you come across a block of land as a consumer and press this button that says Match with a House. If you subscribe to this package, there's a strong possibility that one of your floor plans and your price to build that house will arrive in front of that consumer. So it's I think it's very, very valuable. I think it's a very cost-effective marketing position and ability to get your floor plans and get what you do in front of these consumers. So I'll be doing the ring rounds next week to touch base with people to see what kind of uptake we've got there. They do DocuSign digital contracts. I've just got to give them the contact details. They'll send over an agreement. You sign it. You can prepay 6 months in advance and get a further 10% discount, or you can go on monthly. And yeah, I think it's a really good thing. So I'm going to pass off to Timbo.
Shane, just before you do, you mentioned a step in preparing the package in Gyro that maybe you could demonstrate on screen.
That's going to take a little while.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's a tool inside Gyro that Tim's built where you fill out all the text and put the price in for the land and the house, and then it uploads through to the website and domain. It's probably a training session in itself alone.
Can you just show that part?
Portal? Yeah.
Yeah, just show the portal. Nothing else.
So if we were just to click here on this one, for example, this is a package that we've got listed with a Genesis 265 in Nambucca Heads. Down the bottom here, you can tick this House and H&L package button. Yeah. And this little dialog appears. You're able to give a quick summary. You can put the land size, land price and build price in. And if you click this little button here, pops out another window which allows you to put in your property features and fill out all your blurb which goes online, along with your standard disclaimers and phone contact details. This is the body of text and the content which gets pushed through to our website and pushed through to domain when you complete it correctly. And it's how we manage our online presence with those two different portals. You update it here, you schedule it and upload to domain. Half an hour later, your package is online. With that price, this description, any imagery you've attached into Gyro with the correct naming convention. And an example of that is this package just here on the domain website, which is not the one we're looking at right now, but is another lot in that estate. Click on read more. As you can see here, we've got all the text we were just looking at, the highlights, which is also where I stole the information for that house and land package. Our standard disclaimers, once again, trading name, license, ABN, and the imagery, and a PDF. Sorry, this one's actually a JPEG version of that document we were just working away on. Mm-hmm. And as I was saying earlier, this one's a bit chunkier, so we've had to squeeze the text across to the left and reduce the amount of content to make it fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's enough of a demonstration. So very powerful functionality for those of you in sales roles trying to prove the product you've got in the market. Encourage you to use that functionality. Thank you, Shane. Well done.
On to you, Timbo.
Great, thanks, Shane. Alrighty, I'm just sharing my Gyro screen here. So to start with, we'll just go through the SMS feature in Gyro. Although it's not a new feature as such, it's probably a feature that many people may not know it's actually there. So I've just got a demo account here. I'll just show you where these buttons are. The first thing you need to check is you need to be a manager or have a manager account to your business. So you need to turn this on for all your staff members. So you do that from the tools menu at the top, and we'll choose the group edit option. There's a few default settings in here, and the box that we're looking for here is the enable SMS feature. So if that's turned off for your business, none of your staff will have access to the SMS feature. If you tick the box, everyone can use it. So we'll just save that. Now, this SMS feature is available in many places where you'll find a mobile phone number. So client contacts, for example, any of your client contacts here, if they have a phone number, a mobile phone number, and you select that row, you'll see this little SMS button just appear here. So we click SMS, it'll pop up a little form with a phone number in there. That's the phone number of the form you just clicked. And you can type a message in there. So that text message, it will show you how many characters you're using. So each SMS message has a cost of 15 cents. So historically, you haven't been sending out bills for any of those because the usage has been quite low. But just to be aware, if you type a number of characters there and you go over one SMS message, you might carry over 2 or 3 SMSs. And if you go over 3 messages, that will be a cost of 3 messages of 15 cents each. So I'll send that. It only takes a few moments to come through. It'll pop up on the receiver's end with the name integrity. So it won't be a phone number. They can't reply to the message. So we'll just have some details in there. And you'll notice this little box at the bottom that says Tim, no reply. So it'll show on the receiver's end that it's come from integrity and the name of the staff member with the no reply option in that text as well. All right, so that's my contact.
So Tim, just an observation for those of you that mightn't have been familiar with this functionality. We originally introduced this just to delight our customers, I guess, because it's very, very exciting for people on the building journey when, for example, they receive the approval from local government or the slab gets put down, or there's real highlights in the construction process where you're talking about a very emotional journey. If as a builder, if we message someone and say, look, we're so excited that your home's just received final approvals, and they receive that on a text message, and in a busy working day, that just sends a wonderful signal to a consumer about how much you care as a business owner and a builder, and an SMS is a great way to achieve that. So that's the context of where this development came from.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be great to get that message to say your site establishment's been approved and you'll be starting on site very soon. So very easy way to do that. And a benefit of doing it this way as well is that everyone in your business can actually see this SMS. So you could do it on your personal phone very easily and send that through to the client. But if you have a number of staff members, they won't know that message has been sent. So if you send a message in that fashion, and we have a look at the communication, I'll just reload that job because it populates in the background here. And if we load up that communication, we can see there's a contacted client communication note put in here. And it's got the message there. So everyone in your business can see the message that was sent to the client. Now this is recorded as a contacted client message. So it also resets your 2-week client communication guarantee. All right, so you can send an SMS from the Client Contacts tab. You can also send messages to your business contacts in here. So if you needed a quick message to the project manager, for example, if they're listed, you would select their name from the list. If they've got a mobile number, click the SMS button, and that familiar form will pop up to send the SMS. All right, now the SMS button is also available in business contacts as well. So if you have a need to contact some of your business partners, anyone with a mobile phone number in here, you'll just select their mobile phone number and again hit the SMS button and you're right to go. And finally, one last place you might use this is in your site schedule. So on your site schedule, you'll notice that there are contacts that you can apply to each task. And again, if there's a mobile phone number, you can use the SMS feature.
Doesn't pre-populate the way the email feature does there, Tim?
It actually doesn't, no.
Yeah, good.
Tim, could you attach a photo to that, so of the slab, for example?
Sorry, Richard, you've stretched the functionality limit there.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just thought it even adds to the niceness of it. So
that would be a good feature though, Richard, I think. So this is just purely for text. So
yep.
a pure text message. MMS messages do cost a little bit more. So if it's something that everyone's excited about, we can look into that for the future for sure.
I think it's a really good initiative.
Yeah, pretty cool. Alrighty, so that functionality is pretty straightforward. So the most important thing to remember here is that you turn that feature on. So from the Tools menu, Group Edit, and make sure this Enable SMS feature is switched on. All Alrighty, so moving on from that, I'll just jump into some new website features. So probably the latest feature that's come about is just an ability in your hero images. So we've gone through setting up hero images on your website previously, but there was no way to put any text on top of that image. So some of these features allow you to do just that. So if we log into the admin panel, and we'll find the home page for this example. And in this case, we click on the Edit Photos button. These are all the hero images that rotate on that home page. All right, so this is a new button here. You probably haven't seen this before, but you can edit this image. This will give you a section here to put some content. So you can put just text on there. To make changes to the way that this text is appearing on screen, you probably need some advanced HTML knowledge. But we've got a couple of templates here for you to use. But just first, I'll just explain to you this image alt text option here. So this is a new feature as well, and this also helps with your SEO for Google rankings. So you'll notice if you go to Google and you type in a search in images, you can search for new home designs or a new floor plan, and Google's very good at picking images that relate to the search. And this is a way to tell Google what these images are about. So in this alt text, you might write something like new home builder, home with pool. So that text will be applied to the image, and if anyone's searching for a home with a pool, images with a home with a pool, there's a potential that this image will show up. If they click it, it'll take them through to your home page. I'll just edit the next one. So this is an example of just the template that I've set up here. So you can easily just edit what's in here. So you just change the text. You can change the link here. So there's a button just here that says Browse Designs. If you double click that, this is the link button here. And you can change the web address for that. So if you want to go straight through to your home page, you just take that out. Or through the designs page. All right. Again, so you can make changes both here to your image alt text as well as the text that overlays on top of the image at the same time. So we'll save that. On the third one, this is just a blank one here. So I'll just show you how that template works. There's a new button here that says Hero Text. If you click that, it'll pre-populate with this design. So you're just able to jump in here and change the text to suit. Right, we'll just jump onto the home page and have a look how that looks. You skip to the next few slides. There's one with the changes that we made. And your button, if you click that, will take you through to the designs page. All right, we'll jump back into the admin panel again, and I'll go through a couple of other SEO features we've added recently. So we just pick a page, this custom home design page. We'll edit that one. And some of these new fields are the meta title. So this is the section of the page at the very top. So if you have a look here, if I hover my mouse over the top, you'll see the title here is set to Custom Home Design Port Macquarie. So again, that's quite important for SEO to get those titles right. The meta description is a description we can hint to Google what they should show on their Google site pages. So if we did a search for personalised home design Port Macquarie, for example, we'll find that page. Now, I've just updated that text today, so it hasn't updated on Google just yet, but you'll notice that the meta description they've used is just the first paragraph on that page. So if you wanted to hint to Google that there's something more appropriate on that page to show in place of that, it's that field that you'd use to do that. So for that meta description, I've just taken an important piece of the article out of here and just copied that and pasted that into the meta description. So you can, of course, type whatever you like in there as well. It doesn't have to be a copy of what's in the body of your text. Now, this field here is, I guess it is slightly related to SEO. This is the canonical URL. And I've always told you not to copy content from other places and put that onto your website. But if you want to copy some text from a neighboring franchisee, for example, you can do that without affecting the Google rankings by using this field. So if you want to make a complete copy of this custom home design page, you could do that. But what you need to do is make sure you copy the URL from the top and you paste it into there. So it's basically telling Google that you've used the text and content from this particular page. So it's a way of referencing that page and tell Google that's the most important page to look at and don't penalise me for copying the content. All right, so it doesn't actually help your SEO as such by copying that content, but what it does do is give your visitors something more to look at when they're on your website. All right, and the last of the new features that we've added recently is this Files and Assets button. So this allows you to upload documents. So you might have a house and land brochure or an inclusion document that you'd like to upload to the website in a PDF form. Historically, you haven't been able to do that, and you'd have to ask one of our team to do that for you. So we click this Files and Assets button. It's just a list of files that you've uploaded, and it's a matter of just dragging and dropping a file on. So if we want to drag and drop something from here, pop that onto there, click on upload, and that file's been uploaded into your website. You can right click that link and copy the link location. It'll be the easiest way of getting that link so you can add that to a web page. So if we wanted to paste that link in, we could go back to the admin panel, find the page we'd like to add it to, find an appropriate place in the text here. If you highlight that text and click on the link button, you can paste the link into there and click insert. And that's giving you a link straight through to that PDF. So reload that page. There's the link that you just added. Okay, so that's the last of the new features on the website we've got to show at the moment. A few of you have asked the question about how we can get some videos onto your iPhone to post to Instagram. And I can quickly show you how to go about doing that. There's many ways to do it. One of those ways is to actually use a program called OneDrive. So you may have that with an Office 365 subscription. I'll quickly load up Gyro, and in Global Docs, under Marketing, Digital Media, and Short Social Media Videos, we have a series of video files here that you might want to post to your Instagram. So what you would first do is you would download that file and click on the little blue attachment folder there. And that will show you all the files that you've downloaded in that folder. So pick one of those. So a simple way to do this, if you have OneDrive, you could just put it anywhere in your folder structure here. In my case, I've got a series of videos in here. So you can either copy it or move it into that folder. And what that does is it'll actually add that to your app on your phone as well. So once you have that on your phone in OneDrive, you can click the file, download it to your phone, which will be added to your photos. And you can easily add to Instagram and Facebook directly from your Photos app. So again, there's many ways to do that. You can use OneDrive, Dropbox, iCloud if you have it. This is just one way to do that. All right, thank you guys. That's a wrap up from me.
Very impressive check, Tim. Look, thank you for attending this afternoon, everyone. There's been a recording done, and we'll provide a link to that if you want to share with other people in your business. And I hope you have a great weekend. Bye for now.